Our next speaker is Dr. Nat Wong. Nat possesses 30 years of rich experience in global sales, marketing, and top-level management. Currently serving as the president of Agility Fairs and Events, a global specialty division of Agility Logistics. In his 25 years in the exhibition and conference business, Nat has organized hundreds of events spanning industry sectors like entertainment, food, environment, transportation, communications, textile, oil and gas, and IT. I don't think you've missed anything. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Wong.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you can hear me. No response, so you can't hear me. I must say what a pleasure it is to be here, and thank you to AKEI and the industry of Korea, especially Daegu, to invite me and my fellow speakers. What an honor. Thank you very much. Little bit about myself, and which I think Barry has done all the introductions. So I'm just a simple guy. I'm just a guy who spent all his life, mostly all his life, in the exhibition business and still loving it and still liking it. Been into every sector of it, whether hall owner, stand builder, conference organizer, entertainment producer, and finally exhibition and events freight forwarder. So I come from the service provider side right now. And my director from Korea, Mr. JB Kim. JB, will you please stand? He is a very nervous gentleman right now because as a service provider, what I say on this stage right now could lose us a lot of business. Or on the other hand, JB, it could win us a lot more. So let's go. As my dear friend Bjorn says, if you don't try it one time, you will never know. Okay. Agility is actually a logistics company. I would dare say we are probably top 7, top 8 in the world right now, depending on which category you are measuring it in. Agility has a specialty division called Fairs and Events, and I look after about 500 exhibition and event logistics specialists all over the world, over 56 offices. And we are operational in quite a few major centers like the NEC in Birmingham, ADNEC in Abu Dhabi, as well as Hanover, Frankfurt Messe as well. And of course the AWE in Hong Kong. I will try and cover today what value-adding service providers like us can bring to the table for our customers, organizers, exhibitors, combined stand organizers alike. I will try and cover a little bit from the industry I come from, freight forwarding, as well as the exhibitions industry, which I particularly am focused on serving, and some of the challenges that will be faced or are being faced by service providers right now, and of course some value-adding solutions that we have found in Agility, and we would like to share that with you. Although it may not apply in every area, but I think generally the principle is intact. The environment, some of the things that are facing us right now, not just for freight forwarders, but also for the industries as well, industries that your exhibitions serve, the volatility of oil price. As you can see from the chart, it's gone from 40 to 140, back to 60, and then up to 140 again. It's very volatile. But as in the oil business, prices to us consumers rise very fast. But it comes down very, very slowly. So we as freight forwarders in this business have got to face quite a lot of these increases, and they are significant. They are not small. But what we face is that we cannot pass such surcharges on to our customers so easily, because there are a plethora of choice of suppliers in the market, and they're ready to get more business at lower margins. So we have to be very careful whenever we increase our prices. And I will show you a longer term trend whereby you can see and probably take pity on service providers like us. Another area that affects us greatly is the area of disasters, catastrophes. Whether it's man-made or whether it's natural, they are increasing, and the time in between major disasters, unfortunately for us, is getting shorter. As you can see, Mother Nature holds no respect for even heavy container boxes and heavy cranes. What this means to us is that some of the exhibits that are about to be going to your show will not arrive on the show floor because it's sitting in that container box in there somewhere. So this leads to delays, and sometimes the catastrophe or disaster is serious enough to warrant a cancellation of the event. For example, many exhibitions right now in Thailand have been first postponed because of the floods, and if you cannot push it any further, then they are cancelled completely. It also means that insurance claims, premiums, and all that are also going up, leading to higher charges and prices for us again. Unfortunately for us, again, we cannot easily pass this on to our customers. Another area that is a very important area that we should look at and monitor all the time is the Middle East chaos. We've heard so many country names like Egypt being affected, and then now the latest one online, is Syria. We are seeing more and more of unrest in the Middle East. So all these increased problems, and unfortunately from this area also stems a level of terrorism. So it increases the need for security augmentation. And what this means also is that the costs of putting up higher security levies and such passed on to us as the freight forwarders. Such new expenses are forcing actually exhibitors to, because as I said, these things do not just affect us, it also affects our customers. So some exhibitors are actually re-looking at their participation. They're looking at the real value. We've talked about ROI. What is the return that comes from the participating in an exhibition? So it becomes very important for service providers like us to provide our customers, and by customers, it will not just be organizers but also the exhibitors themselves with additional value. If not, we will stand the risk of being replaced, even if we might be doing a good job. Another area which is fairly frightening is the outstanding debts across the Atlantic. When I first saw this, it was about in September, and we're talking about 3.92 billion a day clicking on to national debt. So it's a serious problem. But some of us may say that it's far away in the US. But what happens is that there are a lot of US exhibitors who actually participate in exhibitions in Asia, and we have to be concerned about that. And even as the whimpers of the US problem is slowing down a little bit, we now see what is looming in Europe. Is this going to be another Lehman Brothers happening in Europe? Between 2008 and 2011, a lot of things have happened in the financial world. we now have what we call a situation called the PIGS situation. Not coined by me, so I'm sorry, Raul. But the situation of the PIGS is Portugal, Ireland, Italy, Greece, and Spain. And again, these countries are in dire need of support, bailout, jobs, and they have massive structural problems, aging populations, unemployment, weak investments, a certain way of doing things. So the EU is facing a huge challenge. And what this means to us, again, is that countries like Spain and Italy are actually very big exhibitors in the food shows, the machinery shows, as well as certain other shows. So their participation may be restricted to our part of the world. So we have to be very concerned with that as well. What about the exhibition industry itself? Competition is getting very intense, both internal and external of the industry. Organizers, it's not just sometimes a case of organizer versus organizer anymore. It could well be city versus city, country versus country, or exhibition versus other media channel options like advertising. So we can see that compound growth in our industry over the past decade could be about 6%, but there is a fear that there's a chasm and there's a gulf right now between participation fees and service fees. Over the years, I think if my memory serves me well, in Singapore at least, and I'm sure in other parts of the world as well, that participation fee has crept up slowly but surely. I think about 10, 15 years ago, to participate in a trade show in Singapore, it cost about $500 per square meter. Today, I think it can cost anything between $600 to $650, depending on the nature of the show. But costs for service providers like us in stand construction, if we're talking about shell schemes and walk-on packages and such, in the good old days, I think it was roughly around $100 per CBM, per square meter. Today, you can get the same for $30. And if you are a hard bargainer, you squeeze it, you could even get $25 per square meter. And for freight forwarding, we enjoy something like $150 per cubic meter of cargo, which we handle from port to site in the past. Right now, there are people who are willing to do the same thing for $70. So as you can see, there is a disparity right now. We've heard that the technology trend might slow down a little bit, so the onslaught of new exhibitions might be slowing down as well. Ownership trends are changing. We had a good discussion about show organizers building their show to medium-sized level, and then poop comes a big one buying it off. So I guess in the longer run, there will only be very big and very small exhibition organizers. The center of gravity is shifting to Asia. As you can see, Asia, led by the growth in China. I think China constitutes about 55% of the size of the exhibition business in Asia alone. And the growth, in a way, is well managed because it's not just local Chinese companies, Chinese organizers that have grown, but also foreign investors have come in and have done well, like Xiao in China. This is a positive sign for us, but as with the organizer business, when center of gravity shifts, also it brings new competition. Exhibition channel integration, more and more people are reducing the length of the channel. We now see some service providers, not agility, some service providers going backward and forward into the channel. And some have now become actually organizers themselves, because their mentality is that when you have an exhibition organized by yourself, guess who the appointed service provider will be yourselves. So that's why they're moving backward up into the food chain. We also face problems in that our freight volumes are reducing because technology has reduced the size of exhibits. In the past, we could easily carry a semicon machine which weighs about 15 tons. That same machine right now can do the job faster and probably weighs only about 4 tons now. So as you can see, our volumes have also been affected. Adding value. There are a few touch points that we feel, and as you can see in those areas, these are the people who would give us our business: exhibition organizers, exhibitors, pavilion organizers, venue owners, service providers, and vendors. This is a traditional source. And we spent a year in Agility to restructure our strategic focus. What we did was we applied Pareto's principle of focusing on 80% of our resources on 20% of the key customers. And the key word here is key clients, key customers, who actually probably give us 80% of our business, our revenue. So this focus change has given us almost immediate success, because up to today, 2011, and this is an odd year, which for us in Asia is supposed to be a lower year than the even year, and we are still above our planned EBIT by about $1 million globally, worldwide. So it has given us a very good approach in that we cut down wastage. But it is painful. So I will share that a little bit more. But however, when we focus, we get more time to grow our key accounts, and at the same time, we can look for and add on new ones. So in the end, we are looking forward to enjoying higher marginal returns for our efforts. After a global review, we also realized that being a global fairs and events freight forwarding company is a costly affair, highly costly. We have big and heavy corporate functions, structures, and we're involved in almost every sector of the business. Home games, away games, which is our term for import and export. We're involved in event freight. We're involved in venue logistics management to set up venue logistic capabilities in a place like Frankfurt is a almost 7-figure setup fee. So with that, we have actually come to terms with it, and we realized that we were actually losing out to some of the small and medium-sized competitors that we had. So we looked into what they did well, and with the strategic focus change, we were then able to reduce much of our heavy corporate costs. And we become now more profitable because we are gaining more customer loyalty when we focus on key accounts. Some of the key accounts that we've acquired over the year are people like Reed China, Messe Frankfurt. However, to achieve some of these new wins, we've had to make some very difficult decisions, and that is to release some of our unprofitable or very unproductive accounts. So there will always be such in all our playing fields. So we have to pick wisely. Exhibitions bring a lot of value to a location, and some of these items are here. Hospitality, for example, entertainment, IP, better infrastructures. Why I'm showing this slide is because, one, as we reduce our unproductive accounts, we have to look for new accounts. So we have to go out of the traditional route of looking for business in the exhibitor and organizer field to look for businesses in other areas like that. We need to supplement our revenues, and at the same time, we create and offer to our organizer and exhibitor clients a more seamless logistics operation. And with that, obviously, we hope to lead to lesser downtime and more focus on running the exhibition logistics on-site better. Some examples that we have done are like we store the venue's conference and arena seating in containers in the backyard. We handle that. We also handle the food chain supply for major events. We did the cold room food chain supply for the entire Shanghai World Expo. So we're looking for new things. We go on road shows with our customers, and we even go into merchandising logistics for some of our key clients like BMW. We establish anchor points with our organizer clients on integrated events, and by adding some values like this, we are able then to help the organizers in their propositions, in their quality statements, as well as the exhibitors in their participation. This slide is about the exhibition industry players. So again, as I've said, we are now looking for non-traditional business, and every member of this industry require logistics services. So we've been successful in securing new businesses like managing the freight for traveling global conferences, as well as some of these simultaneous translation equipment service providers. Some of them have equipment that they will bring from meeting to meeting, and we do the freight forwarding for that as well. Oops, I think I've missed one slide. Never mind. The integrated components of an exhibition, there are a few components there. I've listed the organizer, the exhibitor, the service provider, and the venue owners. Many of us do have our own committees and do have our own staff working within our own organizations. What we've done is, in some of these major events, we've gone forward to propose and provide ideas to the organizers, and also to propose a kind of a working committee or a operational committee with the organizers. And what this has done is work wonders, because an integrated approach is always better. There's this phrase that I've come to recently. It's called better together. So as components of the industry get closer together, I think value will be enhanced. So what is a value proposition? As Kaplan and Norton would say, a long description, but I focus mainly on two things: satisfying customers with sustainable value. So we have to be careful as well, because as we provide more value to the customers, we have to be very aware of our own cost structures. Because giving or promising too much is not going to be sustainable. It's going to be too costly to upkeep. So resources are limited, and we have to choose our clients and choose where we want to play very wisely. I give you some examples of adding value to organizers. Of course, there are quite a few things we need to do. We need to understand how they operate. We need to be aware of the industry they serve, because the freight forwarding for a diamond exhibition is very different for the freight forwarding for a greasy lathe machine exhibition. So we need to know that, and we need to know how to handle all these exhibits as well. And we also need to review the value proposition and constantly ask ourselves, why do our organizers appoint us to be their official forwarders? And the answer to this will be a different one for any different organizer. What we need to do is to really present positive experiences to our customers. If we make a promise, we will fulfill it. And sometimes it will mean that we might lose margin on it, but it is a short-term sacrifice for a long-term gain. And there are many times in which we actually take the hit. It may not be our fault, but we may fly, the cargo may be held in a terminal because of a fire on a ship or something, and the cargo is not affected, but it's stuck in the ship until the fire review or audit could be done. So to catch an exhibition, we might have to air freight another substitute exhibit in. And most of the time, you can say that you can claim it from insurance, but there are always more costs than the insurance company will pay. So we absorb some of these so that we can provide a positive link to fulfill our promises to the exhibitors. And we try to find better ways to doing things. Nowadays is no more as good as to just do the right things or do things right. It is for us very important to find better ways to do the right things. And as usual, we always have to measure our quality, and we always produce surveys on our own for every exhibition. We try to present those results to our organizer customers so that we can together improve where areas need improvement. An example of how we add value to organizers is the recently completed textile machinery exhibition in Barcelona, where we handled the freight for about 1,500 exhibitors. I think we handled about almost 400 containers of heavy textile machinery. We were camped there for almost 1 month. So what is unique about this exhibition is that the selling price of the per square meter rate includes electrics as well as on-site freight forwarding. So it's a huge exhibition, and it requires a lot of integrated coordination between all the stakeholders. So what the organizer did with us was that we formed a committee, and essentially a lot of our staff became members of the organizer's operation committee. So whenever the order forms came in, we reacted to it immediately as if we were in the organizer's company. So with that, we actually cut a lot of slack time, and the organizer was kept informed of our progress all the way with progress reports. And with that, I think we pulled off the exhibition quite well. No major hold-up. And to top it off, this exhibition required replenishment of raw materials every day to the machines. So we did almost a supply chain from the backyard of the hall. So all this could not have been done so successfully without the coordinated efforts from all the stakeholders. We added value, and what we did was we actually helped the customer to help their exhibitors to lower the cost of freight forwarding to the exhibition. And hopefully with that lowering of the cost of freight forwarding, they will be able to be incentivized to bring more machines, because more machines, more exhibits will add to the lure and the attraction of the exhibition. Okay. Adding value to exhibitors, another area we focus a lot on. We work with exhibitors to smoothen their participation process. Exhibitors may be very good at participating in exhibitions, but I think when it comes to how much to load into a 20-footer container, or what to load first, when is the shipping time, and when must you start sending out your documents, and so on and so forth, it would be a boon for them if we took over that responsibility from them, so that they don't have to worry about the logistical side of things, and they only need to worry about visitors, buyers. And what we do is that we help exhibitors now to plan their participation early, And for key exhibitors as well, we've actually gone in to work with them on their regional or global participation schedule. So from there, we are able to help them to plan from one show to another show to another show, either to go directly or to keep it in a warehouse first for a couple of months before the next show happens, because to ship it back and to ship it forward again is probably going to be a lot more costly. So we do all this with customers because we believe that as we plan with them, we will more or less become an integral part of them. And probably one of our objectives is to make it so easy for them that they have to be reliant on us. So we try to give them a positive experience. Examples, we do some really out of this world things. We actually graft one of our staff into Huawei, which is a global exhibitor for us. So they are also busy with all their daily work. They've got no time to decide on which ship. They've got no time to even take your invoices and get it stamped for payment. So we have one staff in Huawei doing that just for them, so that we can be paid promptly and we can receive information promptly, so that all the officers that work on this exhibitor can work immediately on the relevant information. We work with a global exhibitor called Earlycon, and they participate in about 25 shows all over the world. The average size of their exhibition stand is about 500 square meters. So what we do is that we go in and take over the whole logistics operation for them. Venue owners, we work together with venue owners to bring out smoother logistical flows. Example that we are officially on site at the Dubai World Trade Center, Birmingham NEC, Messe Frankfurt, Berlin, Hanover, Leipzig. So what we do is that we work together with the teams from these venues on the logistical operations, and we have our forklifts and chargers there to ensure that we are able to respond in quick time. The Marina Bay Sands, all of us have probably heard about it, the casino venue in Singapore. It's a great venue, many people are going there, but it's a logistical nightmare because there's one freight entrance in, same freight entrance out, and it serves the exhibition venue, the hotel, all the retail shops, as well as the restaurants. So we have to become a team with the venue so that we ensure that we do not create any bottlenecks for each other, and we help each other to clear bottlenecks. Adding value to service providers. As I've mentioned, there are many people in the exhibition industry that we can add value to, and we help them in many of their works. Creative, for example, opening ceremonies with fireworks and huge structures. We sometimes air freight some of these directly in to save time for the producer without having to go through the normal customs procedure. The observations from the UFI Trade Fair Industry Report, I think, reflects what I said just now. Basically, the participation cost of exhibitions is stable, if not going up a little bit, but the expenses spent on service providers like us are going down. So it's very clear. And we need to be very innovative, but at the same time, we need to create value for the customers. So it is a tough cookie. On the one side, you need to spend more money. On the other side, you need to save the money. Adding value. These are things that Agility did. You can read it there. We reduced our costs. We became more lean. We became more effective. We became closer to the customers. And we found out, actually, we were able to do the same output with 20% less SG&A. Now, your organization or other organizations may not be the same, but definitely if you look hard and deep enough, you will be able to find some savings. I always try to say that we may be doing the same thing, and we need to have a differentiated approach. We need to be different from the competition, and adding value is one of them. So if I were to be a cargo donkey, I want to be a differentiated cargo donkey known for high performance. All right? So it makes us different, helps us to stand out. And borrowing a phrase from the consumer industry, we need to provide our exhibitors and organizers with a branded experience so that they will know that agility means quality. In closing, I think the sandstorms ahead are huge. The headwinds are getting stronger and looming. So the nature of our business demands that we are close to our customers, demands that we constantly look for innovative ways and creative ways to help them in their business process. So we need to decide on which key markets we want to play in, which key accounts we want to serve, and at the same time give them the right value proposition, a proposition that we can afford. Establish a network, and finally, again, borrowing something from beyond, dare to take the plunge. So with this, I would like to end my presentation and thank everyone for being so attentive. Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you. Questions? Right here. Yes. Up here.
Thank you very much for the very quiet and persuasive presentation. Very impressive to me. Anyway, but to the point, I want to have two questions. There are two general questions about whether some global, global I think is exhibition industry over there, couple of years. And the second one is Asian, Asian, I think exhibition industry over there a few years, Because I'm now as keen on one, that is that, is that this days I think is global economy is a little bit, I think, the fluctuating, this, particularly impacted by the, European countries, some, financial crisis. So I have two, I think, two global exhibition industry future, and the next one is Asian, particularly Asian itself. Could you ask briefly that your forecast?
I may not have gotten the full brunt of the question, but basically, is it on the global outlook for the exhibition industry as well as the Asian outlook and what the future holds for us?
My main point is two global one.
Okay. I think many of us have been in the industry for almost a quarter century, and we have seen, I have another presentation that tells you the genesis of the exhibition industry, probably about 700 years ago. So at the end of the day, exhibitions have evolved from being barter trading locations to what it is today. And I think there were many threats to the industry, be it the catastrophes that I've shown, be it the financial crisis. There was one huge one which we just talked about when Kathy gave a presentation. I said it was a dark day for me when SoftBank's chief Masayoshi Son bought both Comdex and N+I, because his intention was to use the hardware and software exhibitions to create a virtual platform for exhibitions. And from there, he wants to then take over industry by industry of all the big shows, be it the K show in Dusseldorf, be it the Xiao show in Paris, so that he can create that electronic platform, that virtual platform. If he was successful, I don't think we will be here today. But thank God that the five senses of the human being is appealed to when you go to an exhibition. And I still strongly believe that these five senses will hold us true for a very long time. Not until virtual reality becomes almost reality. So I think that is a long, long, long way to go. So the exhibition industry, I feel globally, will have a long enough future. Coming to the sectors, I guess it would be the Americas, Europe, Middle East, and Asia. Obviously, the biggest growing sector right now is Asia. But I think as global exhibition players, this is the first sector. Oh, sorry, this is the current sector. If you roll back a little bit, you would know that just business-wise, it was originally dominated by the Commonwealth, by the UK and Europe. And then later on, the US came in. And then now China is dominating world economy. Who's next? Could be the Indians. Is Africa a growing continent? I can tell you one thing, they are buying A380s like nobody's business. And they're outfitting those A380s complete with economy class seats, because there are tremendous need for travel within Africa. And when such things grow, infrastructure grows, interaction grows, business grows, opportunity grows. So Africa may well be the next stop for the regional growth. But in the meantime, I think Asia, this is the Pacific century, and I think Asia still has got a long way to go. And Asia, India is a market that is still fully closed, in my opinion. And as it opens, like China, there will be opportunity. There will be great opportunities for a population of well over 1 billion people. So, in my opinion, I think the exhibition industry globally is still healthy and strong against some of its other competitors, whereby sectorally there are shifts coming. And the shifts have already happened. But I believe, based on statistics, this year Asia is growing, but at a slower pace as compared to 5 years ago. China still leads the way. Japan is a very distant number 2. Korea is at about number 4 in Asia, in your industry and in your growth. But looking at economy openness, competitiveness, attraction to foreign investments, I think Korea, if you put in the right mix, would be able to, I think, make a run for number 2. So there are opportunities, and I believe that the opportunities will come very quickly within these 5 to 10 years. So we need to be on our toes in Korea here.
Good, thank you. We have time for one more if there is another question for Nat. Yes, right at the back. They're going to bring you a microphone.
Hi, I'm Jongja Choi, a professor at Dongbuk University. It's my honor to ask a question. You talked a lot about which are going on in the world. It's very informative. But my question is, to integrate, the main players of the exhibition industry. I don't know, maybe what would you suggest that might be very important to add values to the success of the industry? So could you answer my question?
Okay. I think I gave the example of the ITMA Textile Machinery exhibition. It is a good example of integration whereby all the stakeholders, and by stakeholders, I don't just mean the organizer or the exhibitors or the associations supporting the event. I also mean the stand builder, the electrical contractor, the water and gas provider, the freight forwarder, the hotel service provider, all these actually formed an integrated core management team to manage the whole event. As an organizer, you probably will have limited resources, and you probably are not an expert in stand building design or freight forwarding or wastewater clearance. So when the stakeholders come together and in a formal organization, I think a lot of time is saved, and a lot of decisions that go across the whole exhibition are almost immediately communicated to all the stakeholders. And from there, we actually are able to do many things faster and many things better. Another example I can think of, which we got involved in, is the Tax-Free World Asia show. And this is a tax-free show from Cannes. What they did was they had an Asian show, and this is where I talk about competition, not just between organizer to organizer, but city to city as well. Shanghai was bidding against Singapore, as was maybe Hong Kong, to host this show. So what we did was we teamed together with the organizer and the government to form a consortium. And we made a presentation to Tax-Free Association in Paris, and we gave them all the USPs of Singapore, and we gave them all the arguments why the show should be in Singapore and not anywhere else. And from there, when it came to, say, for example, freight forwarding, clearance of cigarettes and liquor, and so on and so forth, we got the Singapore government to give us a waiver. And we said that we will be able to, you will be able to distribute sample cigarettes on the show floor. So things like that, as you work as a consortium, we then are able to clear a lot of problems which the organizer on their own will have problems doing. So because of teaming up together, we were able to solve problems faster and do things better. As what I've just said just now, I believe in these two words, better together. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you. One of the things that I picked up on, which I thought was kind of interesting, was Nat defined value proposition from a supplier, from a freight forwarder's point of view, and he asked a question, why do organizers appoint me? And I was just thinking of from my perspective, which is from an exhibitor's perspective, and something that all of you may want to ask yourselves, which is, why do exhibitors and visitors appoint you? And I think that that puts us in a really nice position to be able to think about what it is that we're offering to make sure that it's relevant to the people who we are trying to offer it to. So, Nat, I thank you so much for that question and for your very, very informative presentation. Thank you. Good job.